Curry here. We've got a couple of bikes here in front of us that are exactly the same model year, and we're going to take this one, which is one I bought recently and brought it in from America, and we're going to make it look like this one, which is one I bought maybe 18 months ago, and I kept it back for myself because I like the bike so much. So this one's in its raw state. It doesn't run, it has not run for a number of years. It's been living outside and its condition would reflect that. The wheels are really quite dirty. It's all quite sad all over. The aluminium's in quite a poor state in terms of just being not rotted, it just needs some love. The bike is it has some good points as well. So what we'll do, we'll walk around it now and we'll give it a triage, and then we're going to take these bits off. We'll take its clothes off so we can get to it. We'll get it in there into the workshop, onto the stand, and let's see if we can get a run out of it. But first things first, let's have a walk around it. Okay, what have we got? We've got some good points here. The exhaust's looking quite good condition. They're quite corroded underneath, but it's only surface rot, so nothing to worry too much about there. A couple of good points. These fellas here almost invariably get really, really hard, which shows they've been out in the sun, so that tells me it's perhaps been changed at some point. The carbs look a bit discoloured and tarnished, not the end of the world. The alloy here, once again, petrol spilling down there, not quite tarnished. The wheels, typical Kawasaki, they do some things really, really well, other things not quite so well. These are Tagasako wheels, which are standard fittings. They're absolutely brilliant. The spokes are a bit sad, so I think I'll send those off and get them relaced. Fork legs, a bit tarnished again, nothing that won't polish out. Fork shrouds here, perhaps need to change those, and the chrome's all looking quite sad. Likewise this side, very, very similar, a bit tarnished there. The headers, not the end of the world, a bit sad, might come back. Again, nasty, nasty, nasty. That's quite bad, don't know quite what I'll do with that yet, but let's take it one step at a time. Typical Kawasaki always kickstart. There is always a bald spot at the back where the chrome's been polished off it or rubbed off with something, I don't know what. Airbox bit discoloured, but it's all there, which is great. These so often have pod filters on, which are horrible. Swing arm needs a repaint, and once again here it's all looking a bit sad. Shocks, not in a great way, but shocks can be had quite cheaply, so I wouldn't even think of starting to mess with that. I'll just get a pair of new shocks on it. It's got a horrible king and queen type seat on, but that's just somebody's preference, and I'll take that off and somebody will buy that and I'll put a proper seat on it. The paint, you can see how it's been at one point. This is the schema as it should be, and it's all just kind of gone. So we can take that, and without a lot of problem, we can make that look really nice again. It's a question of knowing what you're good at. I don't do any of the paint work. I send it off to my man who brings them back, takes them away looking like that and brings them back looking like this. And the sun's on it, which is not always great because the camera doesn't like that, but perhaps I come round here where it's in a bit of shade. I'll get an idea of how really, really nice this is. It's a lovely bike, and that one behind it is going to look exactly the same as this in a very short time. So if you want to come with me on the journey, let's get its clothes off and get it naked. We'll get up there on the stand and we'll get it running, and that's always one of the best parts of the job, is to get that engine running and have a listen to it. As long as it's basically sound, we know we've got a good starting point and we can take it from there. Okay. Hi there. One of the most interesting, informative and fun parts of any restoration is just getting these old girls running. Now this is the old bike I showed you a few days ago. It's not been run for many, many years, and that would be demonstrated in lots of ways. You know, the aluminium's a bit kind of faded and corroded. The exhausts are a bit scabby underneath. It's just tired all over the place. But I think it's basically a good bike. There are things it tells me. The engine's free, it spins over, great stuff. It's got compressions, again, great stuff. The fuel that was in the tank was absolutely terrible, and it was the most amazing shade of green that I've ever seen in any fuel. So clearly that's been in the carbs, and the carbs have still got that residue in them. So what I'm going to do now, I'll pop a battery on it, I'll clean the points up. Let's see if we can get a spark. We get a spark. We're well down the road. I'll rig up a dummy fuel tank like this. I'll rig this up on the bike, pop it onto the carbs. I'll flush the carb bowls out, and we'll give it a little whirl and let's see what it does. So give me 5 minutes. I'll set this up with the battery and with the fuel supply, and let's get the point cleaned up. Let's get the bike up in there so it's easier to work on, and we'll take it from there. Okay. We've got lights. Let's just see if it spins over on the starter. Hey! Right, we're getting there. I'm going to put up in the air now, and let's pop the points cover off and see what the points are like. These bike lifts are a godsend when you've scratched about on your knees for years and struggling up and down and bending over, and I know it sounds like nothing, but as soon as you've got one of these you think, what have I been screwing about at for all these years, because everything now is here. It's just perfect. Right, let's pop the points cover off and find the right screwdriver. Okay, someone swapped those over. They're a bit nasty, but we'll change over for something much prettier. Okay, switch on, let's have a listen. Usually get the when they're closed. Get the clean enough to generate a spark. Yeah. The gap's about right. I could bore you all with how core ignition works. Do shout if you want to know. But what I'm going to do now, just out of interest, I'll just stick a plug in the end of one of these caps and see if we've got a spark at the plug. Let's just see. Hold it against an earth. We've got a spark. Okay, let's rig up a dummy fuel supply now and we'll see what it wants to do. I don't know how long it is since this bike actually ran, but looking at it and the state of the fuel that was in it, I think it's many, many years. That's pushed right home. Because what generally happens is when I put a fuel in here now, some of these floats will be sticking and you invariably end up with fuel everywhere. But let's give it a whirl. Yeah. Come on, where's my measure? Some foam on it. See, I can screw the top on a jar. Right, let's just see when I put the fuel supply in. Let's have a look at what kind of measurement we've got. We've got 740 mils in there. So tell me if the carbs are totally empty and how much goes down into the carburetor bowls. To see if it floods out the bottom. But if it does, I can switch off the little tab there. Okay, it's not going down at all, which probably tells me that the floats are stuck. But let's take a drain plug out of a bowl. Yeah, it's very green. It's on to catch it. Suffice. Well, I'll take this drain plug out and I'll show you the state of the fuel. Yeah, that's the kind of, I know you guys might not be tea drinkers, but I don't know if you can see this. That's the colour of the fuel that's in it. You see it's kind of reddy browny. It wasn't green at all, it's kind of reddy brown. So it's very old. And it smells more like varnish than gasoline or petrol. Just out of interest, while I've got that drain plug out, yeah, that float's working, so it's letting fuel into that carburetor. So at least we'll have clean fuel in that carburetor when we try and get it going in a minute. Even old washing up bowls I'll use. Let's drain this carburetor as well, one at this end. I was assuming that we can get the plug out, which is going to be very, very tight. This one's kind of seized in. Now it's come. Yeah, another one full of old tea. Yeah, if you can see that. Maybe not. And again, I just turn the fuel on and see if the float's moving. Yes, it is. It's letting fuel in. Again, we're running a coconut here. Now I'm afraid I haven't got anything to catch the fuel that's going to come out of these inside ones. So this might get messy. So I can rig something up. Find something. Where the salt top might go in. Yes, it will. So I'll not take the screw right out. There's a hole in there's a drilling down the centre of the drain plug, so I'll just let that run out rather than take the screw right out and have the fuel running everywhere. I usually wear gloves to do this. More haste, less speed. And while that's draining, that is the colour of the fuel that came out. Can you see that? Okay, you know. That's still draining. And I'll go to the other side and see if the other plug will come out as well. I've got another aerosol top here. One I prepared earlier in the best Blue Peter manner. Yeah, that's coming as well. Come on. On a roll. Okay, that's running out as well. Pretty tea coloured. Again, put that in with the rest of the nasty. Okay, pop this back in. Let's get some nice clean fuel into the carbs and just see if it wants to play. It may not. May not just yet anyway. But I'm encouraged so far. Okay, that's all 4 carbs drained. So we're now 700 mils, 710 mils, so a little bit went in when I opened these briefs, so let's just see. And they're all filling nicely. So we're now down to 600 and about 640 mils. And it's not flooding anywhere. This is far too good. Okay, just out of interest, I'll put the choke on, ignition's on. Okay, don't want to play just yet. So we have a couple of other tricks up our sleeve. And what I'm going to do is pop the plugs out and we'll just squirt a little bit of neat fuel into the cylinders, and it might just get it away once it starts running. I'll tell you what I didn't do, I didn't block the little vacuum pipe that runs up to the fuel tap, and that's not going to help, because the pulling, instead of pulling mixture up through the emulsion tubes, through the venturi into the engine, it's going to pull air down into that little pipe because it's easier. So I'll just block that with a little bolt. And squirt a bit of pongo into the cylinders. I'm going to find my little syringe that I have for it. Well, there we are. A little bit of fuel pissing everywhere. There it is. So I shall need to mop all this up before I start again. Otherwise, I'm at tremendous fire risk. A bit backfiring or whatever. Just ignite it. So let's mop that up. Use the petrol to get it away. Waste not, want not. The frame's in surprisingly good condition really for a bike that's been living outside. As are the exhausts. A bit thin underneath, but it'll be okay. Right, need my syringe. While I find that, I'll switch you off. Okay, I've got some neat fuel in the cylinders. So I've cleaned the points up on that side as well because they were not opening and closing properly. So there's neat fuel in the cylinders. We've got a sticking float there, but let's just see what it'll do now. So let's give it some choke. Put the fuel on for a few seconds and just fill the carbs up. Okay, that'll do. Let's give it a whirl. Well, that'll do, won't it? It's only on 3 cylinders, but that's fantastic. That took, I don't know, 25 minutes from start to end, maybe half an hour. Number 2 cylinder's not firing, but what I'll do, I'll cheat a wee bit there, and if you take the plug cap off and make the coil work a lot harder by putting a gap between the plug cap and the spark plug, it produces a much fatter spark, and it might just get that plug firing, and it'll clean itself once it gets going, although of course I'll change the plug at some point, but it'll tell me if it's sweet. But that is a fantastic result. The engine sounds really quite sweet, no nasty noises, so it tells me I don't need to pull the engine out. You know, I can start to recommission the bike pretty much as it is. I'll probably take the carbs off and bung them in my sonic cleaner, because then I can get the fueling exactly right. But that tells me so much, and I'm really pleased. So great result. That'll do, won't it? Hi there. Right, I've had those carbs off and I've had them in the cleaner and I've got them back together, but before I put them back on, what I want to do is give this engine a little bit of a polish around the part that the carburetors will obscure. So I'll just show you that just now. You can see there where the carbs are going to sit. They're going to come over here and shadow all that. So what I want to do really is just give this a polish now, and then it's much easier to, you know, I can do the rest of this afterwards, but if I polish this now, it really helps. And what am I going to use to do that? Now, one of the best ways of polishing is with the thing that's missing. Burglars have been and taken it. Momento. Okay, there's been a mild resumption of brain service and I've found the things that I need to do this job for you. So what do I use to polish aluminium?
what I use to polish easy for me to say, aluminium side panels up. So I'm going to show you now. What I use, just an ordinary pistol drill like that, but with these Sisal polishing wheels, and you put cutting compound onto them, and that will polish this up a treat in no time at all. This is the cutting compound here. I'm still doing all right, I'm finding the things I'm looking for. This is the cutting compound, and I'll set my big camera up and show you how to do this, and I'll polish this up in really short order. And it's just another demonstration of how little you actually need to take something that's looking quite shabby and make it look absolutely spanking in a couple of minutes. So watch this space right now. In the way I've done this before with you, I'm going to polish this casing up behind me, right in front of you, and just show you how fast you can turn this from being something that's quite tired to something that looks absolutely great. So I'm going to use this, which is a coarser cutting wheel, and this will cut through the initial grime and discoloration, tarnishing on the face of it, and then once we get to a point where it's an acceptable finish on that, I change over to this one, which is a polishing wheel, and I use this, which is the cutting compound. I'll put a little bit of this on the cutting wheel now, and you don't need to use much. You'll see it will put a kind of a dark residue on the face of the casing, but it'll polish off really very quickly indeed, and as I put a little bit more of this on, it polishes that dark residue off. So let's do it now and just see how fast we get a result. I'll put that on my drill, the right way around. Put a little bit of this stuff on, and that's sufficient. You don't need tons and tons. So here we go. I'm just going to put a bit more of this on. You can see, as for comparison, I've polished this one earlier, and this one was really in a very shabby state indeed. Bit more of the magic gunk on. Right, for the purpose of demonstration, I'll change over to the other wheel. Let's polish it up now. Okay, let's put a shine on this. There you are, you get the idea. I'm going to carry on working around here now, around these edges, and get all that so that it looks the same as that does, and I'll polish this up a bit more. I hope you'll agree that's a great dividend for the amount of work you have to put in. The engine looks great now. I can carry on a bit further. I could take the cam box off and maybe polish that all the way through, and being daft, I'll probably do that as well. And it's just a demonstration of, you don't need much, you just need good hand tools and just a mindset to do it. So get on and do your bike, stick some value into it, result. We're talking next about the carburetors for this bike, and what I'm going to do is set up the fuel levels. I'll show you how to do that for a Kawasaki. They're slightly different, the manner in which you set up the fuel levels, and then we'll put them on the bike and sync up the carbs. So if you're a bike nut and you like this stuff like me, stay out the pub, save the 40 quid, the wife will be delighted with you, you'll get laid, and you'll put some money into your bike. What is not to love? Thanks guys, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.